Hello, hello, hello. We are back. It actually got Optifine working for a change. So I can zoom in and do all that shit. Yay. Whew. Did you guys miss me? How is everybody this morning? Okay. Now, I wanted to build a sort of like a catch platform, I guess, out to the this outer part here, sort of like a dock, I guess. Hello, hey, good morning. Let's make it out of smooth stuff. Yeah, I think that'll do. Everybody been doing everything you can. Can I sing Barbie Girl? No, I'm not gonna. Here we go. Let's get it all covered in. Okay. So, hey Jackie, me and my friends are making a bigger version. Oh, okay. Well, have fun. Good luck. That's a tall order. I'm not gonna lie to you. It took me years to get this far, so don't get discouraged. Blocks? Ooh, close. Yeah. Perfect. Something of a landing pad, I guess. I don't know. There we go. Yeah, that works. Okay. Ooh, finally here for another YouTube. Never mind. Never reminds me when you stream. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. But it's 10 of us working at a time. Oh, 10 of you working on the copy. Okay. Well, hey, if you can get it to work, right ahead. It's not going to be easy, but yeah, I understand. Won't be able to watch today. Sorry, have a great... Okay, well, you take care, Joel Walker. Can I tell a story about XXXIX? I really don't know that many stories about XXXIX. Stream's going great, Digitobot. EXO and I never really talked all that much. Like, I know he had a kid at one point, but like, I didn't really have much contact with him. Thinking of adapting this style. Not sure. So, okay, 30. Okay, yeah. I will go ahead and start story time. Oh shit. Alrighty then. So, what is the origin of the Flaming Skull banner? I don't know. Well, XCC2 made it. Like, there's really not this complex origin story. I just found it at a base that he was managing. But, that's pretty much it, really. Okay. Where was I? Yes, me and Alpha Computer are best friends. Okay, so, late 2013, that was where I left off. Alright, so, late 2013. So around the time Drew Bookman had come back... Oh, hey, thank you, Super John Knott. Ready for story time. I'm glad to see you're ready. But anyway, around the time Drew Bookman showed back up. This was late October 2013. One of the big problems of Drew Bookman showing up was that we at Valkyria were soon to be out of a base. And unfortunately, with 1.7 due to be released at the time, somewhat soon, we all kind of wanted to, you know, forage off somewhere new and make a base in new chunks, you know, stuff like this. The base that they would go on to make would eventually become Asgard, the very first Asgard. But right before that happened, somebody, I don't know who, I don't remember their name. I feel bad for not remembering it. It's very sad. But whoever they were, I ended up catching the coordinates that they dropped in the chat. Because they, for whatever reason, they were tired of their base or something. And they just sort of said, have at it. This is where I live. You know, I don't want to live here anymore. And I'm like, Pixar, it didn't happen. And sure enough, they were like, okay, I'll show you Pix. And they showed me the most amazing looking, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it was a really, really, really beautiful stone brick facade. And yeah, it was an amazing base. And I went there and checked it out. And despite the base being dumped in general chat, nobody else went there and looked at it. Nobody talked about it. Nobody paid any attention to it. It just blew my mind. And yeah, that was the story of how I came into possession of this base right here. The Ceasefire. As it was on 2B2T, it was made out of stone brick. And yeah, I was like, oh my god, guys, we might have a place we can go to after Valkyria. And then that just kind of, those plans never came to pass, because we were almost immediately right after we started riding on the nether roof to go back to the lands. And Sato and Pyro stayed behind and went off to go found Asgard. So the Ceasefire, as it was on 2B2T, just kind of sat there. And nobody messed with it. Nobody knew that it was there. Nobody believed that that guy had legitimately just dropped a really cool base in open public chat. Nobody believed it. And so I just sat on it for like 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. So we won't come back to the Ceasefire for a little while. I return in 2015. So we ride back to the lands, and that pretty well takes us to the end of 2013. Well, it's around this time, because we were able to get on the nether roof with horses. As it turns out, this was around the time Pyro and Tristan had their back door. And unfortunately, a lot of shenanigans occurred around this time. But, you know, you can't help but take advantage of things that you don't know about, you know? And then later on, Tristan accused me of taking advantage of Pyro because at the lands, I was building that giant blue glass pyramid. Well, Pyro, out of the goodness of his heart, just spawned me in a double chest or two full of glass. I didn't ask him. I didn't even know he could do it. He was just like, here's some glass, Merry Christmas, because it was around Christmas time. And I didn't think a thing of it. I didn't know that he had done that or anything. And, you know, it was, we were also trying to hunt up Imp's base at around this time. So I think Tristan kind of felt a little threatened. Little did I know, Pyro had already visited Imp's base secretly about a month earlier, and Imperator himself caught Pyro and told him to leave. And that's just kind of... Imp had this scariness to him, apparently. I would have told him, fuck you, I will grief your base. Like, you don't tell me to leave. You will invite me to the base, bitch. But Pyro was afraid of Imp for some reason. I mean, I guess there's a reason, you know, they called the base North Korea. Because Imp was a fucking tyrant. And it's really not a wonder. Like, that place became a dead base less than a year later. But at the time, it was an active base. And man, it was something. But, so, this is around the time the Allure for Imp's base. No, that world download was not Asgard, it was the lands. Anyway, the Allure of Imp's base began to really ratchet up at about this time. We really just wanted to, like, go there and expose the secrets. And it was just like, it was silly. I don't know how to put it. We just wanted this adventure that I don't think we could have ever really gotten anyway. I don't know how to put it. It's just one of those things, you know. You hear of this secret and you want to bust it wide open. You want to explore and see what it all has to offer. You know, stuff like that. Oh, and also I made a painting here to tie together the bank manager office. I think it turned out well. It's a beautiful little thing. But anyway, so back to the story. So late 2013 pretty unceremoniously ends. We've been found by PopBob already, but he's kind of fucked off for the time. And we're just kind of waiting for his next strike, you know? Not really sure where it's gonna come from or what it'll look like or anything. And just nothing. PopBob never shows back up again, and we're just kind of left wondering, you know, what's gonna happen to us. And unfortunately, people begin to get really, I don't know how to put it, really bored, really off-put with the lands. It was sad. A lot of them didn't want to stay there, or they weren't very good at staying alive and staying there. That's the nice way to put it, I suppose. And as a result, a lot of them ended up dying a little bit later. But, I guess, yeah, we'll get to that part. So it's around this time, the turn of the year is coming on. And it's the beginning of 2014. And me and Zarviar are screwing around for some reason. We're doing something. And Zarviar finds a a clone of himself. We were all using Pyrobyte's personal client at around this time, and Pyro's client had a feature known as Greeter. This is the first time we got to really play with Greeter. And one of the interesting things about Greeter at that time was that you couldn't use it on the tick that you joined a server. And if you did, it would kick you. Well, Zarviar was spamming Rap God, I believe. And he ended up getting kicked, I believe. Hard to say why. Doesn't really matter why. And Zar logs back in, and he's all like, oh, I got kicked. And it immediately kicked him again, by the way. I remember him complaining in the Skype group. And the second he logs back in, this time he had to turn off the greeter because, you know, we all knew that greeting on the tick that you join is gonna, you know, it's gonna get you booted. And the first thing that Zar notices when he logs in is that there's a perfect clone of him just sitting there. And he's like, huh, that's weird. And he kills it. And in doing so, it of course spits out its entire inventory. This is the start of the 2014 Clone Dupe. There we go. And sure enough, like, it was legit. The Clone Dupe was amazing. However, it would be the last dupe any of us would get to use until the end of the Rusher War. So, don't get used to it, because it's you know, it's an oddity. It's not gonna be the norm. We're not gonna have it. It's very unfortunate. But that's life. Things come and go so quickly. So we, of course, start to abuse the hell out of this. We tell everybody in our group how to do it. And then at some point, PopBob figures out how to do it. And I want to say it's because he just reverse engineered it. But, like, I guess I couldn't really truly rule out the idea of, like, Tristan telling him or something. And, oh, shit. Oh, that's our squirrel. Thank you. I didn't notice. Thank you, squirrel, for your donation. But, anyway. And at one point, recently, I got bitched out for trying to take credit for a clone dupe, which nobody's ever mentioned before, and nobody's really mentioned since. And it's just like, eh. Who really cares? Like, it was important in that it like showed that the server could be brought to its knees through player cap. And I mean, we never thought we would ever have that many players, even if they were fake. Like, that was just not an idea that ever crossed anyone's mind. Oh, we'll never have that many people online at once. Yeah, almost 2 years later, that shit was proven very wrong. Very, very, very wrong. Oh. Ah. That's where I goofed. Yeah, we would definitely have that many players at one point upon a time. It's just one of those things, you know, you just never realize how crazy things are gonna be. Oh, hey, Gorgon Breath. Thank you for donating, man. You always blow me away, how you're just Johnny on the spot. You and Super Jean Knot both. Thank you so much, man. kind of wanted this centered. But anyway, so we get to abuse this for a few days. The server is brought to its knees because of the clones. They're fake players. Fast Vincent has a pretty decent video on the method and all that. So you can't really do anything about the fake players until the servers, of course, restarted. So yeah, it was a nasty kind of, but funny kind of event. And just one of those things, 2B2T is rife with crazy shit like that. Okay. Let's put some pillar at the joints. There we go. But yeah, so that pretty well summates the early part of 2014. Because after that, other than the lightning exploit, I guess I can go into detail about the lightning exploit itself. But other than that, 2014 was an extreme nothing burger kind of year. So very little happened in 2014, it hurts. But there are some things I can talk about, so it's not that bad. Lightning exploit was either discovered or just put into use. I really don't know which. I want to say PopBob had the lightning exploit just before. Did you hear her name? Well, thank you again, Super John. Yeah, you heard your name. But 2014 is when PopBob really kicked into overgear. Use of the lightning exploit to find people's bases. The really amazing thing about it was just how extensive the compromised number of bases actually were, because Pop just sat on this shit for probably months. It's hard to say how long, but he had it a long enough time to where bases including Asgard II, or Asgard 1, sorry, including Asgard 1, I think he also got Fenrir. Just a whole slew of places were compromised simply because lightning. Just nobody knew. It was terrible. It's this awful feeling of, what could I have done to avoid this fate? Oh, shit. Nothing. There is nothing I could have done because I couldn't possibly have known, because a group of assholes have just kept this secret for however long. And yeah, you just have to deal with it. It's one of the many parts of 2v2t I will not miss. So PopBob began to really feel his oats on this one. I hope that's high enough. I can't tell. Nope, not high enough. Oh, thank you, SR Squirrel. Now we stack. Much better. That's really not that much space. There we go. Oh wow, that's like right up on this. Okay, so back to the story as a whole. So I want to say at about this time, or it was early on in the lightning exploit, right around the time PopBob was really abusing it. Pyro managed to integrate it into his client, so we got to abuse it a little too. Trying to remember if anything came of that. We never really found any amazing bases. In early 2014, also at about this time, I ended up deciding that I wanted to go and retrace all of my steps that I had taken when I was a new fag. And it was just something, I don't know, a quaint little journey that I wanted to go on. It ended up being pretty nice, but I didn't really get... Oh shit, that's way, way, way too big. I didn't really get anything amazing out of it, and as I said before, we didn't find any amazing bases. I did find some of the older places that I'd been to as a new fag. Some of them were still standing, shockingly enough. It actually wasn't too terrible. Oh damn, this is stacking it double. There we go. Fixed. We ended up... Ah, yes. It's around this time the lag storms started again. And this time, we really don't know what started it. To this day, nobody ever really came forth and figured it out. Nobody could really put forth any theory. I want to say Pyrobite knew, but he just never could quite tell me for some reason. I guess it was because it was like secret info that he'd gotten probably through Tristan or House or something. And he just kept it a secret. Pyro was really bad about keeping secrets. And it just... there's nothing you could do about it. You just had to sort of go with it. And so from about February, March 2014 until May 2014, we ended up having a temporary map. This is a temp map that barely anyone talks about. Which is weird because it was a map generated entirely on 1.7. And only 1.7. And we never had anything like it again. And it was cool, but it just wasn't the sort of thing that you got to see. You know, temp maps are an interesting, unique experience. And yeah, that was all this was. It was a 3-month-long temp map. But see, the unique thing about this temp map was we really weren't sure if we were going to get the old map back or not. And so we were kind of like wondering, are we going to be living on this map permanently? Is this just the way 2B2T is going to be? Now, obviously that didn't happen, but that's with the benefit of hindsight. At the time, we just didn't know what to expect. And yeah, it ended up being a very uncertain time. People didn't really do very much. There wasn't really much to do. A few builders built some things, but whatever that was built on that temp map is completely lost to history. I don't even remember making or hearing about people making any major bases. The only interesting thing that I did on that temp map was start and end base. But with the uncertainty of well, is the map going to reset? Are we going back to the regular map or not? With that kind of uncertainty hanging over my head, I couldn't really build anything interesting. But I did manage to make a stone brick platform out over the void, and we ferried some animals there, and that was about it. But that was practice for the following year. Now, obviously, at the time, I didn't know it would be practice for the following year, but I'd kind of planned out Space Valk about a year in advance without realizing that's what I did. And, yeah, that's something we'll get to somewhat shortly. We'll probably run through 2015 today as well. But the big thing about 2014 is that after we got back from the temp map and we were finally on the normal map again, whatever the lag issue was, while that was resolved, it really just destroyed everybody's motivation. I think Fenrir was one of the few bases that came out of... Oh, Fenrir and Shenandoah. Those were about the only bases that got any traction in 2014. One of the few things that I did in 2014 was I ended up going back to Valkyria about 6 months later, because in May of 2014, the roof plugin that's supposed to boot you if you got up on the roof with a horse, supposedly that was fixed. Or rather, the roof plugin was broken and you could ride on the roof again. That's really what I mean. And so here I was riding back to Valkyria. I didn't really have a game plan. I knew I couldn't restore the base, but like, I kind of wanted to live there just to sort of, I don't know, reminisce, enjoy the last few memories I have of the place. It was very unfortunate. But I ended up basing at Valkyria again for about 2 months. Because this one smartass joined the server at about that time. His name was Javazan. And we wasted so much time worrying about this dumb fuck. Which, in hindsight, is hilarious because he was not worth anyone's time at all. But this is kind of how we all came to know and hate the man named Ormonger. Yes, Ormonger is... The Ormonger Saga starts in 2014. We all thought, wrongly I might add, that Javazan was a friend of Ormonger. Turns out that was a dumb bullshit psyop, and that Ormonger and Javazan actually hated each other. But somehow we just kind of didn't care. And this is what rallied everybody around wanting to grief Ormonger's base for the very first time. And in doing so, we basically made a pretty big enemy for no reason at all. Just none. It was really quite sad because I feel like Ormonger could have been okay. I mean, he was obnoxious. Ormonger was not a good guy. Like, I don't want to paint him in a light that just isn't true. Ormonger was an asshole. Very much so. But I feel like we could have at least stayed neutral to him instead of, you know, genuinely pissing him off at literally every turn. Because that would end up coming to bite us in the ass a little bit later. Oh shit. So Javazan goes about griefing some true neutral ground type places. I want to say this is like the last time NFE gets firebombed. And this is probably one of the last... this is also one of the last times that we see... What was it? Passy Town. It was one of the last times Passy Town would stay intact. Because it would end up getting griefed by Javazon. And that was pretty much the end of it. Javazon would later fuck off, as I said. And we'd never hear from him again. But the amount of paranoia that got sown because of Javazon is really quite impressive. For somebody who just straight up quit. The fuck? I must have messed up my selection. But yeah, for somebody who quit, like Javazon, he just wrecked everybody's... Like, he made everybody out for blood, and then he just kind of ruined the mood. It was very weird. The rest of 2014, after us griefing Ormonger's base, that happened in June. So, good God, roughly 7 years ago, we griefed Ormonger's base. And we made an enemy in Ormonger. But really not much else happened in 2014. 2014 was such a nothing year. A lot of bad shit happened in 2014 outside of 2B2T, like Notch selling the game to Microsoft. The downfall of Mindcrack began in 2014. For those of you who don't know, Mindcrack was a really interesting group of Minecraft Let's Players, and this is really around the time they stopped being relevant. And they were interesting people, and they were movers and shakers in the Minecraft community. They were friends with a lot of the devs, you know, just stuff like that. And yeah, it was the end of an era. And it was all very unfortunate. Like, there was this general malaise in the world as a whole. 2014 was such a sucky year. It really was. I can't really describe it any better than that. And I'm sure a lot of people have, like, fond childhood memories of 2014 and, you know, whatever. But that was kind of the general vibe on the server. And yeah, it was terrible. But thankfully that shit came to a swift end, because let's see now, nothing really happened at the end of 2014. So I guess that brings us to the beginning of 2015. I might be misremembering or forgetting some things from 2014, but for the most part, that was it. 2014 was a very blah kind of year. Thank fuck it's over. Just remembering it was just kind of bleh. So at the beginning of 2015, I get an invite to Asgard II. Now, Asgard II, the successor to the original Asgard, was something of a group collaborative effort between the people who were known as the Legion, and I believe the former Valkyrians, including Sato and Pyro. And I hadn't based with them since Valkyria, so it had been a hot minute since I had the chance to actually, you know, get to be with them. This is around the time I hear about a lot of the stuff that Pyro did when he had his back door. This is the first time I see my own player head. And just stuff of that nature. And it was all very kind of surreal, because I didn't expect that. Like, the whole player head thing was just... Let me turn down the volume a little. The whole player head thing was just so... Wow, what a shock. Like, A, what a shock you had this power, and you didn't use it for more. And B, like, it was kind of flattering that Pyro would spawn in my player head. And, like, he displayed it at Asgard II. It was actually quite funny. And, yeah, like, it was really fucking cool getting to see that. So I ended up leaving one of my Mushroom Island bases. It was just a small private base. It wasn't anything special. The big thing about this was that's unfortunately the last time I would ever see that base, because it would be found about, I want to say it was found in 2019. A lot of people would swarm it like mad in 2019, but for a base I found it in 2013, you know, it lasted quite a long time. You know, it was interesting. The player head thing would come to be a much larger, you know, it would play a larger role later. But for the time, the whole player heads idea, oh wow, there are a bunch of people who have player heads, including people whose player heads would not be circulated, so I wouldn't get a hold of them. It was an interesting time. It really was. So I ended up going to Asgard II and living there. And 1.8 finally drops. I think another big reason for the malaise in 2014 was that we spent an entire fucking year on 1.7. And we were very much tired of you know, 1.7. We had the 1.8 update to look forward to. And there's just so much going on. And we just couldn't take advantage of it. And then Ormonger shit-bombed all of Valkyria. Like, absolutely destroyed Valkyria after we destroyed his base. So there was no going back to Valkyria. There was no, you know, there was no making do with anything that we had. So Asgard II really kind of pumped the community up again. And it was really interesting. And I got to, you know, I got to arrive at Asgard II and play nice with everybody for, I don't know, maybe a week, 2 weeks, somewhere in there. And like fucking clockwork, I get there, start settling in, and wouldn't you know it, the coordinates get leaked. And everybody's panicking. Everyone's freaking out, like, oh my god, Ormonger's gonna show up, because he did, you know. And it was just like, well, shit, we're done. Like, all these good feelings, this energy that we'd poured into Asgard II. And unfortunately, Sato got blamed. I don't know why. Sato didn't leak the base, but I distinctly remember Tristan saying, oh, I'm never joining another Sato base again. This was stupid. But come to find out many years later, it was Pyro who completely accidentally leaked the base. I want to say he was miswhispering or something. And the coordinates got out, and that's how Ormonger knew. Pyro was on a public alt at the time. I don't know why. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know why he intended to do it, if it was an accident or what. I just know that that's apparently, according to the rumor. I've never, of course, had this be confirmed, but supposedly that's how it went down. And it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. But Sato, to his credit, kind of was like, okay, we've got to take everybody's anger and frustration out on something. We've got to channel this into, something more interesting. Something that can last long term and make people happy. And so the third Incursion was born as a result. The third Incursion was basically everybody blowing off steam from losing Asgard II. But very quickly, it, again, snowballed into something more. And this something more really wasn't good. Because people took it way too damn seriously. I mean, just absolutely crazy serious. People wanted blood, essentially. And there really wasn't any satisfying it. But not me. No, not me. This is, of course, the birth of Space Valkyria. For you see, when the coordinates were leaked, everybody immediately took it upon themselves to grief Asgard II. Because they didn't want to give Ormonger the pleasure of doing it. Because believe me, Ormonger would have had a lot of pleasure in griefing it. And I think this is part of the reason why it left such a sour taste in everybody's mouths. Nobody enjoys griefing their own base just to deprive whoever of the pleasure of doing it for them. But of course, kind of had to be done. And I think that's part of the reason why people like Tristan were like, I'm never joining another Sato base again. Which is just silly in retrospect. I mean, again, it's not like Sato wanted the base to be griefed or leaked or anything. It's just very silly. Say what you will about Sato. He had good intentions. And then, yeah, he started the incursions. So we get stuck for a few months with the third incursion, and I'll admit the third incursion really kind of overstayed its welcome. So I steal a bunch of shit from Asgard II that was basically doomed. Nobody was really, nobody was going to miss it. It was all going to get blown up. So I figure, okay, this is cool. I've got a few beacons in my ender chest. Remember, this is pre-shulker box. We wouldn't have shulker boxes for another year and a half. Actually, probably longer. And, I've got all these blocks of iron and diamond and gold, and I'm like, okay, what do I do with this? What do I want to do? And I think back, in 2013, when House was bitched at for a year to reopen the end, everybody rushed the end in 2013 to build an end base. And a lot of people in 2014 were kind of building end bases. But in 2015, everybody was busy with the incursion. And they were busy with whatever their own base was. And nobody was paying any attention to the end. Nobody thought, hey, this is a great time to go build an end base. Nobody except me. And even when I was building the Sky Temple of Autism, I've said this many times before, even while I was building that, I kept thinking, how cool would it be to build this over the void instead of just floating above a desert. How interesting would it be to do what my old mod friend from Casual Comfy Guy said and build an entire city out over the void? Huh. Seem familiar to anyone? So of course, it's exactly what I did. Or at least that was an attempt. I won't say it was successful, but it was an attempt. That was kind of my overall goal, was to basically do just that. About right here. Oh wait, shit. That's not gonna get copied, but oh well. So I stole all those items, as much shit as I could, and I made my way. And I know somebody asked earlier about XXXII's Flaming Skull Banner. 1.8 had been out for maybe a month, 2 months, something like that. And this is about the time banners were becoming really popular. And so I make my way back to XXXII's spawn base. Of course, by this time, he and I were pretty good acquaintances. And he's like, hey, Jack, you know, if you want anything, I got all the new shit from 1.7. I got rabbits, because rabbits were new in 1.8. You know, I got all the stuff you could ever want. You know, all my spawn base has it all. This is back when animals would actually spawn at spawn. It's very funny. Very fitting. And so, I was able to get a hold of horses, rabbits, you know, the works. Every mob that you could want was available either at the end base that my friend made about a year earlier, or it was raw available in the overworld just by the end portals anyway. And I just ended up going to the end, and I asked my friend, hey, where'd you make that end base? Now, I haven't really talked about this guy. This is another friend. Oddly enough, I met him on Casual Comfy Guys, and I ended up inviting him to the lands. And he was a cool dude. I still have him on Steam. I really ought to talk to him more often. But unfortunately, you know, he just kind of is preoccupied with his own thing, I guess. His name is Stupid Walrus. And Stupid Walrus was a bit of a troll on Casual Comfy Guys. But I saw him one day on 2B2T, and I'm like, hey, dude, I recognize you from that other server. Wanna form a faction? And this is, of course, back when Casual Comfy Guys was a faction server and all that. And then from there, we both kind of mutually lost interest in Casual Comfy Guys in 1.3. And so I invited him out to the lands, and he came. He actually showed up. And then from there, we just kind of, you know, we stopped playing at the lands. The lands got very boring because it was so distant. Nothing interesting was happening there. Just very, very unfortunate. This is about a year before the lands would fall. And Stupid Walrus messages me on Steam out of the blue one day, hey, I want to build an end base. And this was in 2014. And I'm hearing about the Bedrock generation. And I'm like, yeah, you should build an end base. You can walk out, you know, and generate Bedrock. And he's like, oh, cool. How do I do it? And I'm like, yeah, you update the chunks and it generates Bedrock. You know, I guess the plugin is broken or whatever. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that. So he does. Let's get some black and white glass. That'll look cool. And so, this is how Stupid Walrus made... He made this little base camp sort of looking thing. Walrus himself was ironically afraid of heights. So he never really expanded this base camp of his very high. But despite generating so much bedrock around the area, it actually became something of a hub of activity. It was a very small little area. Really not a whole lot to say. But he had a ton of goodies there. And mind you, there was a bedrock bridge leading right to the base. Like, it was just out in the open. And I eventually came to call this place the Bedrock Strip, because there was a giant strip of bedrock that just went out for like 1,500 blocks or something like that. It was very long, very obviously a base. And, you know, stupid Walrus just... he was able to live out there quietly. Nobody really came by and bothered him, despite it being a fairly wealthy, for the time, base. And a pretty nice one at that. Barely anyone went into the end. Which is kind of what made the whole thing so fitting. Because nobody cared. Now, before I start getting too deep into Space Valkyria, back to the third incursion. Third incursion is where people were really getting, you know, familiar with stuff that Pyro had done. He was using his infinite blocks to make the incursion really, really, really powerful. This is how Wrath Outpost was built. Shit. Correct. Where's this damn light source? There it is. Anyway, and he was using gassed spawn eggs to convert spawners around spawn into gassed spawners. So that's how that happened. And he was just using all sorts of shit. All of his secrets and goodies to just have a good time. Like, that's really kind of the point of the incursion. It was more to have a good time than anything else. And it ended up being probably one of the coolest memories I have of 2B2T. Because Pyro was just such a cool guy at this time. I think he was just tired of all the secrets at some point. And he just wanted to have fun. Have fun with his friends, I guess. I don't know. So he gave his blessings, gave us stuff like you wouldn't fucking believe. Okay, paste a S. Okay, so the selection should still be there. So let's stack this. 20 blocks, or no, 20 blocks without air. Oh no, that overwrote. That overwrote some beacons, didn't it? Oh, I see how. Okay. Well, I done goofed. Because it copied the entirety of the selection as well. Well, poop. I'm just gonna have to do it this way. Anyway, so one of the big things about the incursion is that it drew back a lot of people who'd kind of not really been playing the server all that much, including Talo. And Talo and I based together on the Temp Map a year earlier. And so Talo remembered me. And I kind of let it slip. Hey, Talo, I've got an end base. You know, you ought to come. And I started asking people if they were okay with Talo, you know, showing up. And everyone, including Pyrobite, was like, nah, Talo's not trustworthy. Don't invite him. And I was like, oh shit. Oh shit, I've told him I have a base. Is that going to be okay? And turns out, no, it would not be okay. But you live and learn. Keep your bases to yourself, folks. Like, that's a valuable lesson. You shut your mouth. You don't need to tell anyone about anything. That's predominantly why I did things like Space Valk 3 alone. Apart from the people I already knew I could trust. Like, I didn't invite any new people. And that's predominantly why people talk way too much. And yeah, it can be the death knell of a base to have someone with a big mouth shoot it off when they shouldn't. And so that was that's kind of what contributed to the downfall of Space Valk 1. So the next big thing was there was a bit of a war going on because there were a lot of people who wanted to fuck with and stop the Incursion. Talo and XXXIX being one of them. Or two of them, rather. I really couldn't tell you why. Jared was part of the Incursion, and then at some point they cast him out because he was Jared, let's face it. And he then dedicated his existence to eliminating the Incursion as best he could. It's really quite funny. So the Incursion began to implode in on itself. But there's somebody amongst all this chaos whom I had come to notice. Somebody who stood out and distinguished himself. Somebody I've very barely touched on up till now. Oh, azaleas. Thank you so much. I forgot about azaleas. Is that not how you spell azalea? Oh, okay. There we go. But yes, there's somebody amongst the third Incursion whom I have not talked about. I mean, I've touched on him once or twice throughout this story. But there's somebody among all of this chaos who distinguished himself. Can any of you guess who that was? Do I have any mods? No, I don't right now. Tinted glass? No, we don't need tinted glass. I like the checkerboard pattern. But can anyone guess? He's a big deal. Jared. Ha ha ha! Somebody guessed it. It's not Jared. FitMC. Yep. This is around the time the name Fit jumped out at me. Because he was someone who was kicking ass and taking names during the third Incursion. And I was like, who the fuck is FitMC? Well, is Fit originally. And I'm like, who the fuck is Fit? Mind you, renaming your account was brand new at the time. So you could do that. And I was like, who's Fit? What's this all about? Come to find out, it's Silent Pedro. And I was like, oh shit, I remember him. I even ended up telling Pedro about the lightning exploit during a spontaneous tiny chat in 2014. That's the first time I talked to Fit ever, was at that point. And Fit was blown away that PopBob found his little shitty log cabin mere hours after he made it. Well, that's why. It was the lightning exploit. And yeah, that kind of made us take note of each other to a degree. And I had just a tiny bit of contact with him during the third incursion, but it wasn't really something that big. Like, I didn't care that much at the time. Would come to find out later just how important that would be, but, you know, hindsight is 20/20 and all that. So I started working on Space Valk, the first one. And my original idea, my original vision, was I was going to invite as many people from Valkyria as possible. And I was going to have them all build some sort of something or another over the void. And it was going to be this weird hodgepodge of bullshit, just like Valkyria. And people would, you know, connect their stuff together with bridges. And it was going to be an interesting little place. Everybody was too deathly afraid to really make any progress because barely anyone had the ability to keep themselves from falling into the void. People would fucking die all the time. All the time. It got to the point where people were kind of afraid to do much of anything. And then I told a few of them how they avoid falling into the void. Back then, you could turn on fly. And this was the case all the way up until 2018. You could turn on fly, and if you were falling into the void, if you turned on fly, it would rubber band you back on top of what you'd fallen off of. So I would turn on glide because glide counted as fly. And I would glide after hitting myself with an arrow. I would glide out from the bedrock strip all the way out to Valkyria, or Space Valkyria. And I would be building on that thing in secret. And it began shaping up and becoming this beautiful little, you know, what's it, that everybody suddenly was talking about secretly. It was very hush-hush at first. But then slowly, you know, people's interests would grow. And people like Brynillan would flex how they were living at the coolest base on the server, and like people would show off pictures of it. I never wanted them to show off pictures of it because I knew that would give people an idea, you know, to go start searching. Because it's not like the end was very big back then. People could figure it out. But again, much like with the lightning exploit, it would always be a matter of, well, what could I do to avoid detection? And the simple truth of the matter is, without clairvoyance, nothing. You could never avoid what would happen. Because it's just one of those things where you can't do anything. You have no chance. You're gonna fall victim to it no matter what, and that's the end of it. And yeah, some exploits are like landmines. You don't know they're there. They're undetectable, they are hidden, and you're gonna step on it, and it's going to explode, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. And it's painful. It's horrible. And you lose shit. But that's 2B2T, you know? And so, we get to the dying days of the third incursion, and with it, the Tell at A exploit. Now this one was particularly nasty, because it could hit so many bases and compromise so many coords. In less than 10 minutes, you could have, especially if you were like making a spreadsheet or a bar or not a bar, you know, you were graphing out locations. If you were doing that, you could know people's locations inside minutes. of just whispering to them. And PopBob was one of the first people really pioneering the tell at A exploit. And it simply worked like this. You would use /tell, and I believe /tell was the only one that worked. /w, /t, /whisper, and I want to... Oh, and /message would not work with the @a function, because tell, I believe, is the vanilla way of doing it. So that would work with the selectors. So @a would send a message to everyone. So you could spam everyone. But there's a hidden sort of underside, if you will, to the all these selectors. Selectors can take brackets. So it would be tell, and you have @a. Well, if you notice, this is a fairly recent addition here. That bracket right there. This autocomplete didn't exist back then, and wouldn't exist until, I want to say, 1.16. So nobody had any way to know this was a thing until suddenly people just kind of started talking about it, and it was a thing. So you can tell @a message to anyone within, and you could specify coordinates. So dx, dy, dz. So anyone along the 34,000 Z coordinate. I can tell them any message. If you're at 34,000, positive 34,000, no matter where you are along positive 34,000, it will send you that message. And so all you'd have to do is specify a coordinate range. And I believe you could use tildes. So you'll need 3 to make it work. Or no, it'll be after. That's it. Make it arbitrary. Huh, okay. I guess you have to do DX now, because they changed. You know, they've changed a lot about how commands work. Oh, wait, no, it was distance. My bad. Distance equals whatever. And so you could use trigonometry and then just ping people with distances and then just narrow it down until you stopped getting a reply or a successful send of the message. As a result, you could whittle down a range that someone was in, and 90% of the time, people are at their base. If they weren't at the Incursion, they were at their base. And because the Incursion was dying down, most people were at their base, which meant all you had to do was just continually go step down, step down, step down, and there you go. Inside 5 minutes, you could have anything. You could tell where anyone was, and that's exactly what PopBob did. I believe X0XP and Talo and Jared were also using this too. But I wasn't the one who got hit with this initial wave of pings. The tell @a exploit compromised Space Valkyria because Pyrobite, bless him. Pyrobite left an account online. And Pyro was cool. He wanted to help as much as he could with Space Valk. He gave me those infinite blocks that I hinted at the last time. He He gave me a bunch of illegals, the player heads, things of that nature. He wanted to do anything he could to sort of have fun, if you will. I think he was more about making memories at that time than hiding, you know, deep dark secrets. Although he still had many deep dark secrets that he would keep hidden. But he was cool enough that he was like, okay, I'll start loosening up on some of these restrictions. And he had a greeter. But his greeter was special. Because it would go out and reference, I believe, name MC. And using that, he could tell when players joined. He would tell everybody every name that they'd ever had, every username. And in doing so, he AFK'd overnight to just fuck with people. And in doing so, he was rife for the picking. And that's how these people found, specifically Talo and Jared, that's how they found Space Valk #1. They had the perfect target. None of us knew anything. Pyro was completely AFK. And that was it. Space Valk 1 was compromised not long after. And I log in after having gone to work all day. And my base mates are staring down Jared at bow point, who has already stolen some of the player heads that I had on display there. And he puts that shit in his ender chest and he runs and he jumps into the void and escapes, killing himself. But, you know, he'd already stored the items, so it's, you know, too little, too late. But lucky for me, we had a bunch of extra copies, and I'd given some to Brenillan and some to Snacky North. And I think Pyro still had a few. But this is right around the time Pyro also lost his mega stash that he'd made from his back door with Tristan. So unfortunately, this also meant that a lot of what Pyro had worked for was about to also go up in smoke. And that was a huge blow to Pyro. He would hang around for another year or so, but early 2016, around the fall of Space Valkyria II, that's about the last time I would see Pyro. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves on that one. I was mad. I was mad that this exploit shut down the server. I was mad that it compromised Space Valk before I could finish building it. And I was just mad that, like, the people who were our sworn enemies, they'd won. Simply because they got lucky. And you know, people like Jared, Talo, the people who would come to be Nerds Inc. very shortly, like, they always got lucky like that. There was never a shortage of finding out crazy shit, figuring out a new exploit, you know. Like just recently with their NoCom exploit, they could monitor chunks and how chunks were loaded using a God mode exploit. And doing so, they could figure out who was loading chunks, who was in chunks, and stuff like that. And so, like, the nerds have always had this sort of thing. They've always been very, very lucky in that regard. Doesn't help that Mojang and Microsoft are very lax on bugs, bug fixes and stuff like that. Like, very bad at preventing this shit from leaking out, too. But, oh well. It was just kind of one of those things. You just had to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and try again. However, I would have the last laugh from this little exchange. Because you see, not long after the fall of Valkyria, or Space Valkyria, Talo began bragging. Talo said, you know, I can destroy the end portals if you like, Jack. And I'm like, what do you mean destroy the end portals? How would you do that? Who would do such a thing, Talo? Please, don't do that, Talo. And then he demonstrated how he did it. And I'm like, oh no. Oh, you monster, Talo, don't do that. And already the gears were turning in my head as to how to make use of that. And I was like, this is so good, so exploitable. Thank you. Thank you for giving me ammo. And I didn't tell him that, obviously. But little did Talo know. Actually, I think I'll make an obsidian bar. Little did Talo know that this kind of ammunition would probably be one of my greatest capers ever. So we secretly snuck a bunch of accounts into the end. You know, we gotta have a fair few backups. Luckily, due to how Jared and Talo initially rated Space Valkyria, they left most of the items alone, because we'd farmed all these items off of those imp blocks. So, you know, that's a lot of wealth. That's probably more wealth than a lot of people had ever seen. Or at least, for the time. The concept of wealth would become very, very bloated in the next few years. But at the time, in a pre-shulker box age, that was a lot of stuff to have just in one spot. It was. So we were able to successfully move about 1.5 kilometers away. And we settled down and made a little wooden platform and kind of began to regroup. And I thought, okay, how do we best make use of all this? They didn't know and had no way to know where we'd located to, or relocated to. And for the most part, they kind of gave up on us. Big mistake. Because my greatest caper was yet to come. So in August, I decided I'd had enough. Or no, yeah, it was August. We began laying the groundwork in July 2015. But in August, I put the plan itself into motion. I'd had enough of people traipsing around the end. After the death of Space Valkyria, you know, that was it. Like, I wanted to do something that nobody could top in the entire history of 2B2T. Nobody will be able to top this. And I'd like to think it's really not something people could do to the same degree, to the same effort, to the same fanfare. The server's just too different. So we destroyed all the end portals, and I used the brand new name change mechanic to change my alt to look like it was my main, so that people would think I'm playing out at the lands. And that's what I told everyone. No, I'm out in the millions. I'm playing at the lands. Shit, that's off kilter. Nobody believed that I was still in the end. Jared probably had a hunch, but he didn't have any proof or anything of that nature. But secretly, I blamed every last end portal grief on Jared himself. I was like, yeah. Jared and Talo griefed the end portals. They told me so. Whoops. Yeah, that's something they did. Because they could. They griefed Space Valkyria. You know, makes sense. They're the ones who did it. Yeah, it was them. No, I didn't. What assholes, am I right? Who would do that? Oh, God. How terrible. But not a single person realized that I did it so that I could own an entire dimension. And I made sure that nobody was left in the end, that there was no secret fuckery, none of that. It was just me and the crew living in the end secretly. And I began working on this giant, it's what I called the island at the time. But it commonly came to be referred to as Space Valkyria II, not long after. And so, that's where I began to really work on it. For about 9 months. That's pretty well what I worked on. And, oh shit, it's off kilter. Don't you just hate it when you make something a block off? There we go. And I'll go show off Space Valkyria 2 here in a second. Okay. I'm almost finished with this little, what would you call this? Like a floral... I guess it's like a greenhouse, but it's a gazebo-esque thing. I don't know. It's just an idea I've been bandying about in my head. But anyway, I'll go and show that off real soon. Damn it! Another block off. There we go. Perfect. There we go. Nice little floral gazebo, I guess. Floral walkthrough, whatever. Okay. So I guess that'll do for building on this thing today. I'm gonna go and hop over to Space Valkyrie Island. Well, I mean, I've shown off Space Valk 1. There's nothing really terribly amazing there. Ah, Space Valk Part 2. Let me see here. Aha. So you probably can kind of sort of recognize it already just by looking. Hey, where have I seen this before? Huh, this looks familiar. Oh hey, quartz, obsidian, beacons. Very few sea lanterns. We didn't have a whole lot of sea lanterns, but we had a lot of glowstone. Well, would you look at that? You could kind of sort of mistake this place for Space Valk 3, couldn't you? Well, this is where for about 9 months, I perfected the Space Valk 3 palette. This is essentially one of the major inspirations for Space Valk 3 was this design, this feeling I had. I don't know how to put it. Like, it was really interesting. A lot of crazy, sort of esoteric looking designs. Just a lot of wacky shit. A lot of stuff I thought was cool. But I spent most of the 9 months actually building this island portion here with the little quartz palace on it. This place I only built on for like 4 4 or 5 months, somewhere in there. And yeah, this is essentially what would be, or what would go on to become Space Valk 3. But we'll get to that when we get to that. So I spent a long, good while owning an entire dimension. Because very few people can say they've owned an entire dimension on 2v2t. Lots of nice little open air areas with leaves everywhere. A main sort of temple structure. Beacons hanging down. I really loved this place. It was so cool. I'm just sad I never got to finish it. This twisting, winding stairs. Something of an internally decorated area. A lot of unfinished stuff. This is Space Valkyria II. Like, barely anyone talks about it, but it's really important for obvious reasons. I was really happy with how this place was turning out, too. I don't think it would have ever been as big as Space Valk 1, but, I had a lot of interesting ideas. So yeah, that's essentially the origins of Space Valk 1, which is... I don't think it's in this world download. It would be somewhere over that way. Space Valk 2, which is this giant area here. This took so damn long to make, this island. And it's almost all solid stone, but... God, it was a pain in the ass. Kinda built a little hollow area into it. More villagers than I knew what to do with. I'm surprised they've not all started killing themselves. We had a nice little trading hall as well, though I don't think any of them saved. But oh well. I got bored and tired of filling it in with stone, so I lava casted a bunch internally. And that kind of brings us to the end of 2015. Yeah, I built on this. And that was it. I really liked the bottom design. I never got to make anything of it. I thought about finishing it, but I don't know. I feel like the power and inspiration for this has kind of come and gone. And I put a lot of that into Space Valk 3. So this place just kind of being whatever. I'm not worried about it. Really doesn't matter anymore. So I guess that's kind of the end of that. You can see right away where the chunks were generating, because we spent all of the rest of 1.8 out here, and then 1.9 hit. And of course, very first thing we did, or I did rather, was I built a bridge out this way to try and go find Elytra. And I was one of the first people, or actually probably the first person, to get an Elytra at all. And you can tell how short the render distance was from just here to there. Because, like, yeah, this was all empty void in 1.8. And then in 1.9, we had all this shit start developing. And yeah, you can still see a lot of this stuff, the ruins of this, on 2B2T itself. So it's still all out there. Obviously, it's not intact, and nobody's going to spend all that time blowing that up. I mean, that's just a hunk of stone. We had a really cool, really efficient Enderman farm working here. Oh, the Endermite is gone. Well, shit. Oh, well. Actually, this is probably on peaceful. Yeah, this is on peaceful, no wonder. Oh, well. And yeah, this was a great way to get XP before villager trading became really, really overhauled. I want to say that happened in 1.8 or 1.9. Whenever they added mending, then it was worth your time to villager trade because you could get mending. Ooh. Oh, these are maps of the entire area. Interesting. Huh. Okay. Yeah, this is the inside of the little... This was all filled with quartz from an imp. Diamonds. Beacons. Gold. Ender pearls, dirt. Had more dirt than we knew what to do with. It was great. Had to build a little stone generator just because, you know. Does this still work? Huh. Okay. It still functions. I'm shocked. Oh, this is one of the first 2B2T newspapers. It would end up getting, you know, ruined. Oh, the fox. That was a funny thing. This was Talo's head. And it's one of the few heads that did not get circulated. PopBob's my head, obviously. Had a nice little... Oh yeah, you could fly on a horizontal surface. That was very strange, but that was a thing you could do back then. You could sort of low, slow glide on tops of surfaces, and it would conserve hunger for some reason. But yeah, that was a thing. This is, of course, pre-rocket flight Elytra, so you had to sort of run everywhere. You couldn't do very much. All right, enough of Talo's head. I think spectator mode was either brand new or had not been added yet. I want to say that was 1.8, but I can't remember. So I remember building this giant sort of satellite tower, and you had to turn on glide and timer to slow the server down, or rather to slow your client down to match the server, and then you would jump to try and open your Elytra. And you could turn on fly at about this time and fly out, but you couldn't gain height. You had to fly, you know, but you could fly horizontally almost infinitely. I had an old video of this place on my channel, and you do stuff like that. Yeah. So I had a nice little upper area you could fall down into. That was pretty much it. Very, you know, small scale stuff, like nothing terribly groundbreaking. We had a bunch of animals. Had a horse here. I think we killed it on accident. I don't remember. Oh, this was a rail duper. I'm pretty sure rail duping is long since patched. Shit, how did this work? I want to say. Never mind, it may not be patched. See if this actually legitimately works. I know you can rail dupe using coral fans and some other things. I guess this method is gone. Yeah, this method is indeed patched. I forget why we wanted so many powered rails, but it's whatever. Island of the Indus. Yeah, I finished it in October 2015. That was when I finally managed to get this damn thing grassed and covered and everything. This is how we were fishing. Had some decent stuff. It's pretty cool. Fishing was the only way you could obtain some items, if I recall. This is something Parthicus built. He was just about the only person not too much of a scaredy cat to build anything. Whoops. Y'all didn't see that. He was just about the only person who wasn't too much of a scaredy cat to build over the void. So yeah. That's that, pretty much. This is Space Valk 2. The often overlooked, but still important. Whoopsie. Had a minor hiccup there. We're back now. Okay. So yeah, that's all Space Valk 2. Not really much else to talk about it. This pretty much is the end of 2015. That leads us pretty well into 2016. And yeah, I guess I'm gonna leave it here for that. We'll take a good look at Space Valk itself. Or well, actually, well, I'll come back to the Ceasefire because the Ceasefire. Yeah. So in addition to building on Space Valk 2, I also went to go and do the Ceasefire. We'll pick up at the Ceasefire next time. Let's say this is Space Valk 1 as it was. Oh shit. Well, fuck you. I will switch my own game mode whether you like it or not. So yeah, that's just Space Valk 1. Bedrock at the bottom. Pretty straightforward. So you can kind of begin to see the principle behind Space Valkyria 3 combining 1's overall layout and shell with 2's palette. And I actually have a more complete version. I think that'd be this. Yeah. This was taken from the Vault, the server that Spartan 512 ran. And his world download was much more complete. Complete with like all the stuff that was in the chests and everything. All the mobs are pretty well where they are. For whatever reason, it got put in the overworld. I think that was just a bug. A glitch with that. Had all the villagers. I added a few things onto it while it was on the vault. Like I added an upper area here. I put all the heads back on their armor stands. Stuff like that. I also managed to complete more of the terrain and more of the overarching dome that would have encapsulated the whole place. I had a bunch of trees here as well, jungle trees. This was going to be a miniature jungle biome, so I had to take down some of that, finish the dome, and then I was going to grow the trees under the dome so that it looks a little more, you know, a little more properly encased. But yeah, that's Space Valk 1. So you can begin to see a lot of the craziness and the methods to my madness. But nowadays, you know, I'm just gonna keep this place going and finish this. Because, like, I'm tired of not having something to show for it. So yeah, that's it. So, I'm gonna... Hey, don't spam. Boy. Just because I haven't gotten to notice you yet. There we go. Anyway, so that's almost all of 2015. I'll begin at the Ceasefire and all that later. I forget what exactly made me go back to the Ceasefire, but it was important. So yeah, I'll field some questions now for anybody who wants to ask me anything extra. What inspires me? Oh gosh, so much shit. Let me pull up the folder. Das folder. I've got it somewhere. There it is. I don't think these are going to show up. Let's see if this will pop on over real quick. Could I give the world downloads? Maybe. Maybe. I don't really care too much about Space Valk 2. But Space Valk 1, I'm not going to do that until I'm going to finish Space Valk 1 as well. There's really not much to do on it, so that won't take too long. Oh, let's see if the stream... Yeah, there we go. Bespin. So this is concept art from the 5th Star Wars movie. These were actually painted by hand. And this is some crazy shit right here. And so around 2015, The Force Awakens came out. You all remember that, I'm sure. Well, when The Force Awakens came out, I was like, you know, there's no point in seeing it. Because it's only at best going to be a rehash of Episode 4. Which I've seen to death. And so if I'm going to watch Star Wars, I may as well watch the original trilogy in a much more high-def, remastered, version. And so I did. Because fuck the new Star Wars, that was terrible, and everybody pretty well agrees. Yeah, new Star Wars is trash, exactly. So I dug around and found the much better high-def, remastered, it was a fan project of some kind, Blu-ray disc quality, original trilogy, full download, watched it all, it was great. And I got to Bespin, Cloud City in Episode 5, and it took my breath away. Because I hadn't seen the Star Wars original trilogy in decades, or probably almost 20 years by that time. And it was just mind-blowing that these stations were there, and I was like, holy shit, I want to build that. I want to make this over the void. This is something I want. And so I ended up... See now, this was a Lego model that I saw several years later of Cloud City. It's really, really cool shit. And what else did I see? What else really inspired me? Fuck. Ah, here it is. Deep Space Nine. This is from Star Trek. I know I have a Star Trek and Star Wars kind of feel to a lot of this. But I mean, just look at this. This is beautiful. This is amazing. This is some awesome architecture. Just... I think these are official. Like, officially drawn and, drafted by the producers or the set designer, somebody from who worked on Deep Space Nine. And I want to say they had a real-life model for a lot of the shots that they had to do of Deep Space Nine. If you don't know what Deep Space Nine is, it was this amazing... it's a Star Trek series. It's a space opera. But it's this really cool, space station that was kind of abandoned and refurbished. And let me tell you, this place was just majestic to see. So I got a lot of Gerard Gillian. Okay, so that's who did this. So I got a lot of inspiration from this. What else did I? This is just the big over top-down view of the whole thing. If you look at my schedule card that I posted Sunday for this week's schedule, you might notice a little, some similarities. The design that I used, I ended up making this on the disc. This thing right here. I designed this years ago. And I initially intended to make a map art collage of it, a bunch of map art. So I've divided all these up into 128 by 128 squares. And I near about gouged my eyes out trying to fucking build the thing because it was just a pain in the ass. I really didn't make hardly any progress with it. But I kept the idea. And I was like, okay, I'm going to use this design somewhere at some point for something. Well, that something would be Space Valk 3. And so, yeah, combine this with Deep Space Nine, with the Cloud City, as it was called. And just some really cool stuff. And, yeah, I want to say that's pretty much everything. So, yeah, that's that. Those are the biggest sources of inspiration I've had. The ones worth talking about. Pretty much. Hi, Jack. This isn't a question, but you just finished watching the Anarchy podcast with my interview and really enjoyed it. You'd really like to do something like that ever again? Maybe. I wouldn't really know what to say in a new interview. Or whatever. Ooh. Better yet. Because, realistically, what's there to say? Other than telling stories, what's there to say that hasn't already been said? There wouldn't be a point to another interview. I suppose I might. I wouldn't necessarily turn it down, but I just don't see a reason to. Four is the best one. Oh yeah. Star Wars 4 was pretty good. Okay. Can you ask a question on Discord? Sure. Go right ahead. Do I like Gojon? Yeah, Gojon was a cool guy. I talk to him once in a while. Will I be building this on 2B2T? No, I will not. Ooh, a good question. If I still had a piece of bedrock, where would I put it? It's funny, I thought of what I would do with a new piece of bedrock. Where might you place it? What would you do with it? If I only had one block to place and no way to dupe it, no way to preserve it, no way to sell it, nothing like that. I absolutely have to place it somewhere. It's kind of funny because now we all really kind of recognize and understand that even bedrock is not permanent. So while it's cool to have, it doesn't really You know, it doesn't symbolize permanence like it used to. So I guess, in a way, I could be... Whoops. I could be just careless with it, and it wouldn't matter. Because somebody would go out of the way to destroy it because it's bedrock anyway. But if I had to place it here... A bunch of places come to mind. I would want to show it off. I would want to, like, make it known. You know, I would want that to be a thing that draws your eye. Like, you know it's here, you know? I couldn't really tell you, to be honest. Maybe I would lay that piece of bedrock. Well, with the original Space Valk, it was at the very bottom. So maybe the very top. Although, I don't know, that would block this entrance exit. I don't know. Maybe... Well, no, this is really for show. I wouldn't be able to build this on 2B2T because this is a teleportation location. So that really wouldn't work. Maybe I would just default back to old habits and build it at the very, very, very bottom. Somewhere down in here, maybe. Just throw that sucker just right there. Unceremoniously, just toss it right there. I don't know. Can I go on Discord? Oh, not on stream, no. What's up, Jack the Snicker Bar? Okay. Today's my birthday, so that's cool. Oh, happy birthday. NASCAR Fast 48 Cherry NASCAR Schnell Advent to that's a name. It's terribly humid here in Austin. Oh god, I know. It's cooler today than it has been, but I think that's just because a cold front blew through. It's much more bearable. I don't have to have my fan on full blast. But yeah, it's not pleasant. That's for damn sure. Kind of want to cover these now. But yeah, where I'd place bedrock is probably just where, you know, where old habits die hard. You know, the very bottom of the build. Or the very top. I don't know. If I'd had the bedrock from the very beginning, the beginning of the planning process, that idea might be different. But as it stands right now, the very bottom is probably where I'd put it. Yes, I do have a Discord server. I don't want to, like, hand that out to just everybody under the sun. God, it's so framey all of a sudden. There we go. It's much better. Not a fan of having so much exposed sea lanterns. I kind of like encasing them. Whoops. So yeah, you have a question. Yeah, I don't see your question in Discord. Sorry, man. Oh well. Okay. Is my skin jack-o'-lantern? What? No. Ban the 666 guy. He's AA12. Who is that? I don't see who you're talking about, man. I'm not gonna do anything if you're not spamming. If nobody's spamming, I don't have a reason to do anything to them. Is there a world download with the finished rings? Yes and no. It's privately circulated. I'm not going to give out anything until this is all finished. So don't worry. If you want the finished product, you'll just have to wait. Sorry. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Ah, wait, there's more exposed sea lanterns. Man, this debug stick is so useful. I wish we had this in survival. What is my full IGN? Jack the Ripper. It's not hard to find. Whoops. How do you get Alpha Computer's Discord? You don't. He doesn't want you to know his Discord. Hey there, Jackie boy. Props if you get the reference. Yeah, it's a Yu-Gi-Oh reference. Been a long time since I caught your stream. Oh, well, welcome back. What's my job? A pharmacy tech. Alrighty then. Okay. Emailed House about something almost a week ago, and I have no response, no shock there. But honestly, what I did expect, it's House, and he almost never responds to emails or interacts with the community. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm still streaming. Yep. Part being cool. Do I have Alpha Computer's Discord? Of course. Talk to him every day. No, I'm not giving it out. You're a fool if you think I'll give his Discord out just cuz. Alpha would be so pissed at me if I did that. Well, actually, I guess in here. I don't know, I kind of like it not having these on there. I'll just stick to the outside predominantly. What's my most favorite person in Minecraft? I guess Alpha? Yeah. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that, to be honest. I really like Etho and his work. But I mean, I don't know him, so I can't really say too much. Like, I would prefer to stick to people I know with a question like that. I've been watching Etho since like 2012. Good lord, it's been that long. Hope he responds. I mean, then again, although the email was about how there was a massive thunderstorm on the test server. Well, that's probably a Hard to say what that is. That might be a feature that he's messing with. Might just be a plug-in. I don't know. 2B2T and massive thunderstorms are not uncommon. Do I have good ping on 2B2T? I do not care. Oh, I ignored you 3 times. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I just didn't see you. I didn't ignore you. Did I get my name from Black Clover? Is that what you were asking? No, I got my name from the famous serial killer. You could tell the thunderstorm was not natural, so you wanted to know what was going on. Well, you'll never get an answer to that question. I'm terribly sorry. House does not answer questions like that. But yeah, there being massive thunderstorms, that's nothing new. That's happened on 2B2T for years. And I'm fairly certain it's the result of player intervention in some way, but there's no conclusive proof either way, so it's whatever. Is the test server on 117? Probably not. I'm a talented builder. Well, thank you. IRL, do I have a wife or girlfriend? No, I don't. I don't want a wife or girlfriend right now. Did I get my name from Black Clover? No, I didn't. I got it from the famous serial killer. Let's see here. Have I seen what Alpha Computer looks like? Once. He's very conscious about showing things off about himself. The storm was the equivalent of the one he did in 2012. Oh yeah, I saw that one. That 2012 storm was unreal. I lived through that storm. That was wacky. Okay, I think that's all of that. Do I really care to cover all these up? I guess so. I'll take a few more questions. Quite sure the chance of a thunder strike is calculated for all chunks, so more players means more thunder. No, not really. Unless there's a component of that formula that's being changed actively by like Paper Spigot or whatever. I guess it would be Paper Spigot. Whatever the framework of the server. If that's what's happening, then it's like counting players so much more often. Maybe. But like, I don't know. I don't feel like that's right. Because thunder just happens so rarely. Something is up with that. Have I seen what X0XP looks like? I think I did once, but it's been way too long, so I don't remember. I don't really care. Have I gotten more comfortable streaming? Yes, I feel like I have. I mean, I've been doing it for a few more months than I did when I started. So, you know. 'Tis what it is. There we go. Perfect. Oof. Looks like a giant angry eye, doesn't it? I really like that kind of effect it has. The evil eye of Space Valk. I don't want to lose sight of it. Whoa. Well, I guess that's gonna do it. Only 2 players from 2B2T have seen the faces of Fit, and the guy who griefed the Valley of Wheat a long time ago and put shoes on his head once. What, you mean Jang? Have I seen what Tristan looks like? Yes, I have. This is giving you Pokemon vibes. I don't know why. The Eye of Sauron, yeah, I know. Who's that on my profile pic? It is Shinobu from the Monogatari series. Spelling or grant, okay. Top-down view looks like a basketball court. Maybe. It looks more like an angry eye to me. Almost like a Pokeball, a little bit, yeah. Okay. Well, last question. What type of Minecraft content do I watch? Mostly Let's Plays and people screwing about on their own streams, pretty much. So yeah, I'm gonna end it there. Really not much more to say, to be honest. You guys have a good night, good day, good morning, good whatever. Thank you to those who donated. Thank you all for everybody coming out, listening to my ramblings. Oh wow, the whole city's beginning to pop into view now. That's cool. This will be an interesting little thing to end on. So yeah, I'll see y'all later. Y'all take care. Come watch me kill shit for Black Mesa on Friday. If you care to. I don't know. Will I release the world download? Yes, of course. I've said that a million times. Don't worry, you'll get the chance to peruse the whole place eventually. See y'all later.